Behind her, Monument Valley spread out in its ancient silence. He had never seen either look quite like this.
How do you know my name?
How do you know you are still alive?
Stories like theirs remind us that a single act of kindness can travel across decades. She had come because she was running out of time.
Get away from my horse.
Get away from my horse. His voice was low. The kind of low that doesn't need to be loud to be dangerous. The woman didn't move. She stood beside the dark bay mare with her hand resting gently on the animal's jaw, fingers moving in slow, quiet circles. The horse, who had thrown 2 men that same morning, stood perfectly still beneath her touch. His hand drifted toward the revolver. I said, "I heard you, Cole." He froze. Nobody had called him that name in 11 years. His name, his real name, was Cole Merritt. Nobody in the Arizona Territory knew that. To the men in Redstone, he was just Drifter. To the bartender at the Silver Spur, he was the quiet one in the back corner. To the law, he was a ghost. Cole was 53 years old, though the desert had written its story across his face like a canyon wall. Deep lines around his eyes, silver stubble on a hard jaw, hands equally comfortable with a plow handle or a gun grip. His leather jacket had survived 2 winters in the Rockies and 1 ambush outside Tucson. He wore it like a second skin. He had ridden into the valley 3 days ago, chasing nothing, running from everything. The woman before him was perhaps 30. She wore a dress of tanned hide, fringed at the hem and sleeves, decorated with turquoise and white beadwork. 3 silver bracelets on her left wrist threw small flashes of light across the red dirt. Her black hair moved freely in the dry desert wind. Her eyes were dark, still, absolutely unafraid. Behind her, Monument Valley spread out in its ancient silence, enormous sandstone towers rising from the earth like the fingers of a buried god. Cole had seen beautiful country before. He had seen beautiful women before. He had never seen either look quite like this. "How do you know my name?" he said. She tilted her head slightly. "How do you know you are still alive?" Her name was Ayanna. In Western Apache, it meant eternal blossom. She told him this herself 3 hours later, sitting beside a small fire in the shadow of a red rock outcrop, horses grazing 20 feet away. She had not explained how she knew his name. Not yet. She had simply fallen into step beside his horse when he rode, matching pace on foot without complaint, without invitation, as if his permission were a formality she had already decided to skip. He had let her walk. He wasn't sure why. "My father spoke of a man called Cole," she said, feeding a stick into the fire. "A man who came to our camp in the winter of 1868. The sickness had taken many of our people. This man brought medicine from the fort. He asked for nothing in return." Cole stared at the flames. "Lots of men ride through Apache country." "He left his horse with us," Ayanna said. "When the mare's foal was born that spring, my father named her Kola, a Lakota word meaning friend. He thought it was close enough." The silence between them carried weight. "Your father," Cole said carefully. "What was his name?" "Delgado," she said. "Runs with stone." Cole closed his eyes. He remembered that winter camp. A man with quiet dignity and watchful eyes. A sick daughter shivering under thin blankets. He had left his spare horse because he had nothing more useful to give. He had never known what followed. He died 4 winters ago, Ayanna said. But he died old. He died with grandchildren pulling at his sleeves. A pause. That is because of you. Cole said nothing. His throat had gone somewhere he wasn't prepared for. Ayanna reached into her dress and produced a small carved wooden horse, worn smooth by years of handling. Simple, elegant. The legs slightly uneven, as if carved by unpracticed but patient hands. He made this the year before he died, she said. He told me, if you ever find the man called Cole, give it to him. Tell him the horse had a good life. Tell him her grandchildren are fast. Cole took the carving. His hand was not entirely steady. If you're watching tonight from somewhere in this world, whether you're in the United States, Brazil, India, the UK, Nigeria, Mexico, or anywhere else under this same sky, drop your country in the comments below. Stories like Cole and Ayanna's remind us that a single act of kindness can travel across decades and find its way back. Let us know where you're watching from. What Cole didn't know, what Ayanna had not yet told him, was that she had not come looking for him only out of gratitude. She had come because she was running out of time. Vance Hollis had been a deputy once, in the proper sense of the word. 20 years ago, he had ridden with a federal surveyor through Apache territory, watching, learning, memorizing which bands held which land, and which agreements had been written in triplicate and filed in distant offices that nobody ever checked. Then he had started buying land. Not purchasing it through honest negotiation. Buying it the way a man buys a house he has already burned down. After the fact, at his own price, from people too desperate or too frightened to refuse. He had expanded his cattle range across 3 former Apache settlements in 8 years. He had personally overseen the eviction of 2 extended family groups from land they had worked for generations, burning their structures to make the paperwork simpler. Ayanna's father had been present at one of those evictions. He had watched Hollis's men tear down a winter shelter while children stood in the cold. He had carried copies of the original 1869 land agreements ever since, sewn inside his sleeping mat, then later inside his daughter's, waiting for someone to care enough to act on them. When Delgado died, he made Ayanna promise 2 things: find the man called Cole and finish what he started. She had been investigating Hollis's land fraud for 2 years when she finally traced Cole's trail north from Fort Apache. What she had not calculated was that Hollis had men watching her, had been watching her since she first began asking questions about old surveys and territorial agreements. She had found Cole, and Hollis had followed her directly to him. At 2 a.m, Cole's eyes opened to the sound of hooves, multiple horses moving carefully, trying to be quiet, which meant they knew exactly where they were going. He was on his feet before conscious thought caught up with instinct. Revolver drawn, back against the rock face before Ayanna even stirred. "How many?" she whispered. 4, maybe 5. She was already moving, not toward him, but sideways, low and silent, disappearing into shadow with a speed that made him blink. 3 riders came into the firelight. Cole recognized Hollis immediately. Heavy-set, pale beard, the deputy's star worn like a trophy. Beside him rode 2 men Cole didn't know. Behind them, hanging back in the darkness, the outline of a 4th. "Merritt," Hollis said. Not surprised, not even particularly hostile, just satisfied. The tone of a man arriving exactly where he planned. "Didn't know you were back in the territory. Didn't advertise it. Smart man." Hollis leaned forward in his saddle. Apache woman you've been riding with? She's been asking questions about land surveys, about agreements between the Apache bands and the territorial government. His eyes moved slowly around the camp. She's carrying documents that don't belong to her. They belong to her father, Cole said. Her father is dead. Hollis said it the way a man states the weather. Factual. Final. Property passes to legitimate heirs through territorial law. And territorial law says Apache land claims from 1869 were superseded by the Settlement Act of 1874. He smiled. I helped write that act. Cole understood then, completely. This wasn't a land dispute. This was a man who had spent 20 years building a legal architecture specifically designed to make the truth unrecognizable. Hollis hadn't just stolen land. He had stolen the language that would have protected it. Step aside, Merritt. This isn't your concern. It is now, Cole said. Hollis's men spread, 2 left, 1 circling right. Practiced. Patient. The shot came from behind the rocks. Not a gun. A dry crack. A throwing stone released with precision. The man circling right grabbed his wrist with a sharp curse. His horse shied and turned, blocking the second man's line of sight for exactly 1 second. Cole crossed the distance to Hollis in 4 strides, grabbed the man's coat, pulled him from the saddle. Hollis hit the red dirt hard and rolled, and by the time he looked up, Cole's boot was on his chest and the revolver was level with his face. From the rocks to his left, silence, controlled, waiting. Here is what happens now, Cole said quietly. You ride north. You tell whoever sent you that the Apache land records are already in the hands of people who know what to do with them. And you think, very carefully, about what it means that I know your name, your operation, and your location, and I haven't collected the reward on you yet. Hollis's expression shifted. There's no reward. There will be, Cole said, by morning. If you're still within 20 miles of this valley. He stepped back. Hollis got up slowly, looked once toward the rocks where Ayanna was hidden, made one final calculation, and rode north. Ayanna emerged from the shadow, brushing red dust from her dress, the smooth throwing stone still in her right hand. His wrist, Cole said, will hurt for a week. She paused. He killed my cousin's husband 2 years ago, during the last eviction. Her voice was steady, her hands were not. I could have aimed higher. I know, Cole said. I didn't. I know that too. They rode before sunrise, heading southeast toward Prescott. As the desert warmed around them, Ayanna spoke about the country, not as scenery, but as language. The Apache, she explained, navigated by relationship, not landmarks. The angle of shadow between specific formations. The way wind moved through particular canyons. The behavior of hawks at different altitudes. We call it Ndebiati, she said. The language of the land. She pointed east, where a hawk rode a thermal in slow circles. Water, about 2 miles. She pointed to a pattern of scrub along a low ridge. Alkaline soil beneath, bad for settling. But the roots of that plant, ground with juniper ash, close wounds that will not close on their own. Cole rode quietly, listening. Your people built fences to mark land, she said. My people learned to read it. Hollis built fences too. Around documents, around laws, around language itself. She looked at him. But he cannot fence what was memorized. Cole thought about that for a long time. They reached the Territorial Records Office in Prescott as the afternoon light turned everything copper and gold. Two men waited outside, leaning against the wall with the deliberate casualness of people pretending not to be waiting. One favored a wrist wrapped in cloth. "Stay close," Cole said. "No," Ayanna said. She dismounted without breaking stride, the document tube under her arm, chin level, eyes forward. Cole dismounted and walked beside her, not in front, not behind. The man with the wrapped wrists straightened. His companion reached for iron. Cole drew and fired in a single, unhurried motion, the gun spinning from the man's grip before it clears leather. The shot so precise that the hand itself was untouched. The man stood staring at his empty fingers with an expression of complete biographical revision. "The lady," Cole said pleasantly, "has an appointment." Inside, the territorial clerk received the documents with the careful expression of a man who recognizes both their significance and their inconvenience. He read them once, read them again. "These are genuine," he said. "Yes," Ayanna said. "The 1874 Settlement Act was written to contradict agreements that predated," Ayanna said. "You will find those agreements are registered in the Federal Ledger, Section 12, under Treaty Addenda, not territorial law, federal law." She set a second document on the counter, a letter, signed and witnessed, cross-referencing the exact filing. "My father was a thorough man." The clerk looked at Cole. Cole looked back at him with the expression of a man who has made a long journey and is not interested in making it again. The clerk stamped the documents. They rode out of Prescott as the sun went down, long shadows stretching behind them across the high desert. Neither spoke for the first hour. There was too much to say, which sometimes feels exactly like silence. Finally, Ayanna said, "You didn't have to come." "No," Cole agreed. "You had no reason to." "Your father gave me a reason," he said. 35 years ago. Took me until now to understand what it was." She waited. "He let me matter," Cole said, "without asking for anything back, without making me prove I deserved it." He watched the mesas turn dark red, then purple, then the color of old iron. I had spent a long time not mattering to anyone, including myself. Ayanna was quiet for a moment. Then she reached into her sleeve and produced a second carved figure, smaller than the horse, worn even smoother. A man in a wide-brimmed hat. Simple. The hat unmistakable. Cole stared at it. "He made two," she said. "He said the horse needed company on the journey." Cole took it. He held both carvings in his palm, the horse and the man. Worn smooth by a dying man's hands, carried across a desert by his daughter. He had been in this carving his whole life without knowing it. He closed his hand around them both. They camped that last night between two great red stones that leaned together like old friends sharing a secret. The fire burned small and honest. The horses stood close. Above them, the Arizona sky was so thick with stars that the darkness between them seemed almost accidental, as if light were the natural condition of things and shadow only a temporary interruption. Cole turned the carved figures in his hands and thought about what it means to leave something behind. Not a grave, not a debt, something living. Some people spend their whole lives moving, convinced that meaning lies just ahead, another mile, another territory, another horizon that keeps retreating. Cole had ridden half a continent that way, chasing a feeling he couldn't name, running from a version of himself he couldn't shake. But a man he had helped for one afternoon in one winter had spent 30 years being grateful, had taught his daughter to carry that gratitude, had died carving proof of it in dark wood with unsteady hands. Kindness travels further than any horse. It outlasts wounds. It crosses decades. It finds you, even when you have spent 11 years making certain you cannot be found. Ayana was watching the stars. "My father would have liked you," she said. "I liked him," Cole said, "even though we only met once." She turned to look at him. "Maybe that is exactly enough," she said. "Maybe that is what it always was." The fire crackled. The desert held them both in its ancient, indifferent, strangely patient hands. Cole set the carved horse and the carved man side by side in the red dirt. Together at last. Company for the long road ahead. Before you go, think about this. Have you ever done something kind for someone and never found out what happened after? Have you ever helped a stranger and wondered if it meant anything at all? Drop your answer in the comments. You might be surprised how many people feel exactly the same way. And if this story stayed with you, like, subscribe, and come back. The next story is already waiting, and it's going to hit just as hard.
Get away from my horse.
I said I heard you.